What's up, everyone? My name is Forsaken, and today we're going to discuss Google's new game streaming service, Stadia. First of all, what kind of corporate focus group tested name is that? Well, I'll tell you. The Merriam-Webster dictionary says, Stadia is a surveying method for determination of distances and differences of elevation by means of a telescopic instrument having two horizon lines through which the marks on a graduated rod are observed. First used in 1865, there were a few anecdotal cases of it being defined as the multiple of stadium. Realistically, chances are this is the definition which they intend for the name of their platform. Irrespective of what definition you ascribe to this word, it sounds like the name of a stripper working on a Tuesday afternoon. It is certainly not a name that was thought of by any gamer. Compared to words like Steam, Epic, Origin, BattleNet, Stadia is weak. But a poor name choice is not going to hold back a corporate tech juggernaut like Google. First, we will discuss what game streaming is. Then, what Google claims their service is going to provide. And finally, my opinion on the matter and what I think the implications are for the industry. Game streaming, as I know it today, is you buy space on a server where you store typically a single game due to the massive size of modern AAA titles. These servers have what amounts to a virtual machine, where a certain amount of processing power is allocated to your computing tasks, being a video game in this instance. Then the data is streamed to your PC. The practical reason to do this is because you may have a PC which is underpowered for your application. For instance, I have a buddy who uses this type of service so he can game on his work laptop. As you may assume, these extra steps add time between the processing and your input. And here's why. The data has to make multiple trips between your hardware and the server. First, the server will process your game data, then send it to your PC. You react to this, and I do believe your reaction time should be accounted for because all of this is on the scale of millionths of a second, mind you. After your device takes the input of your key press or mouse movement, it makes a trip back to the server so that it can be processed there. And finally, it makes one last return trip so that you can see it on your screen. A YouTube channel named Digital Foundry did a series of tests, and their results led them to make the claim that the lag when streaming with Stadia was the equivalent of gaming on a modern-day console on a television. As far as game streaming goes, there is a second possibility. Let's say that Google wants to be like one of the cool kids, and they decide to launch their own gaming marketplace, because the only thing any of us need is one more account to manage. Now, if this is the case, and to be honest, I would place my bet for this to be the case. They could house all the new titles locally and not depend upon you to pre-upload your files, and not only could they sell you the game, but then they could charge you for the privilege of having them do the bulk of the processing. Google is making a very large amount of claims, chief among them being that any device which is capable of running Chrome is going to be capable of streaming Stadia. So that means that every PC, Mac, tablet, smartphone, and Samsung smart refrigerator will be able to run any graphically intensive modern game at 1080 60 frames a second, with up to 4K at 60 frames per second at launch. And hold on to your butts, guys, because magic is real and they promise up to 8K resolution at 120 frames per second. I doubt it. I think that Google will be emphasizing the words up to very frequently. They have a feature where you have the ability to save and share an instant save file. This allows you to share with anyone your game in the exact moment. I feel this is a very nuanced development that is going to explode into the foreground of gaming culture. And the controller is a cute little thing. It's very familiar. Reminds me of a cross between the Xbox One and the PS4 controller. The design isn't revolutionary by any means, but this controller serves as an internet device. So instead of having the middleman of a device like a console or a PC, it communicates straight to the data center, helping decrease latency, which with a streaming service is going to be the name of the game. The controller has the ability to be tied into your Google Home system. It can also share footage to your YouTube channel and even initiate streams through the push of a button. And this stream is taken from the server itself. So without any crazy hardware, you can stream at 4K, 60 frames per second with just a push of a button, which greatly lowers the bar to entry, but as a side effect, this will just continue to further oversaturate the YouTube space. And speaking of YouTube, something that makes me salty. If you're just a gamer, this upcoming development is going to be amazing. And that is the ability to pull up a game guide in the middle of your playthrough. One which is specific to the very area that you are in, just by asking Google for help. Now, why does this upset me so much, you might ask? Well, I am glad that you asked. YouTube is a highly curated marketplace at times, and the almighty algorithm is far more likely to take you to a large channel, which further increases the difficulty of growing a smaller channel. And as a small channel, who just got about a quarter of their viewers at this current moment in time, from a 14-episode walkthrough series, with my most viewed videos of the series coming from spots where people were stuck. This development makes me quite salty. Finally, let's discuss the impact of the potential of Stadia, because it could be huge. Nobody has the infrastructure that Google does, not even close. If they can deliver everything they claim, hell, a fraction of what they claim, this will lay waste to the current gaming industry. The initial effect is that this is going to potentially lower the bar of entry to PC gaming so far that you may eviscerate the console market. You know, short of the console exclusives, the fanboys, PC Master Race, but not to mention the potential destruction of the mid to mid-high tier of PC components. And initially, all of this would cause prices to drop across the board, as we saw when AMD came out of left field and just kicked Intel in the nuts. What excites me most is the potential of this cloud computing thunderhead being offered to developers, and one game in particular, a game with endless amounts of ambition and just as many claims, a game most people think will never be realized but holds a special place in my heart regardless. And that game is Star Citizen. I just dream of playing in the universe that they want to create, and don't argue with me, it's not there yet, and it is quite a ways away. But with the potential of the Stadia backbone, I think these colossal, grandiose types of games actually may have the ability to be realized. How likely is Stadia to deliver on their promise? I believe that most claims will be realized, at least partially. But one in particular gives me doubts. I live in the United States. Some regions of this country can actually have a single internet provider due to our corporatist political culture. I myself have the top tier internet package in my area, and I live in a relatively large city. This internet costs me around $200 a month for up to 100 megabits per second. Typically I get roughly 10 megabytes download a second. And if you live in one of the surrounding rural areas, you might as well have dial-up. If you do not live on the coasts or in a major metropolitan area, your infrastructure is just laughable. Now, is this a problem for Google? No and yes. I suppose we cannot expect some new emerging technology to immediately be adopted across the board. But as Google experiences success in this, which they undoubtedly will, I think it will spur the growth of their optic networks and all-around faster internet nationally. And if not, the overlords at Google surely own a small army of politicians by this point. Before I let you go, I have to bring up the issue of ownership. Steadily over the years, we have been moving away from physical ownership of our chosen media. When it comes to digital media, you only own the license to access it. If a movie or show you've bought gets removed from Amazon Prime, you no longer have access to it, and furthermore, you do not have the right to have access to it. And it will be the same with Stadia. Without having the physical files on your devices, DRM withstanding, you are paying to only access their files. A privilege which can be revoked at any time. This is a problem. It reminds me of a game I had on the 360 called Too Human. Apparently, the company used a graphics engine without permission, and after a lawsuit, an update was sent out that completely disabled this game entirely. A physical game, a disc which I could hold in my hand and I still have in the bottom of a box somewhere. Now granted, I could probably delete the game, install the disc, keep the system off of the internet and still be able to play it, but meh. It's just an interesting story I like to tell people at this point. I value that more than actually playing the game. In closing, Stadia offers a lot, and there is much left to be seen. Like the business model, for instance. Do you just buy the games and the streaming service is included? Is it a monthly subscription? And just how much of your data are they going to mine in the process? Hell, they would probably drill into the marrow of our bones if we would allow them. It's not a service that is going to be for me personally, but I am tentatively hopeful of what they will bring. And if you stayed until the end, thank you for watching. Like, drop me a subscription, and let me know what you think. Do you think they're going to succeed or fail? And I will see you next time.